Let me just make sure we're good to go. I'm always a little paranoid with these things when it's
gonna be going halfway through the show. You're like, wait a minute, are we live?
Right. Okay. Now we're live.
Hearing the beep is a good thing.
Cool. Welcome. Give a minute or so for people to log in. So we'll be able to see the comments from here as well. So all the comments come directly into here. Let's see. Vines, what up? Vines of Jesse, I guess. So we're live on BeatStars Periscope. We're live on their YouTube. We're live on their Twitch. We're live on their Facebook. So today is our second live MEC show under our new BeatStars partnership. So what's up, everybody? We got another super dope guest. My guy Chuck Dizzle. It's always a pleasure to speak with him. He's one of the realest cats in the industry. Somebody that I consider a friend. Somebody that hits me back when I text them. Somebody that emailed me back if I email them. Super professional. So that's the kind of cats I like.
Yes.
So thank you for being with us today, man. Appreciate it.
Before we start anything, man, I just want to thank you and congratulate you, bro. I remember a couple years back when we were talking about this platform that you got and really launching it for the people out there, and the fact that you're really like progressing. You know, you've already been establishing yourself for years, but the fact that this is something amazing for the people out there. So, you know, BeatStars is good to have you on board with them as well, man. This is an amazing thing. So congratulations to you. Shout out to Abe, and just I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I mean it's a process of just building on small wins, right?
Yeah.
Like we're just trying to constantly improve in everything that we do. So I think that's a good starting point. Like I know you've been on the MEC before, you kind of went through your story. So we might go through that a little quicker, but we have to start because you did something similar in terms of starting Homegrown and having that be your platform. Now you're on iHeart.
Yeah.
You know, so let's just talk through that process and kind of where you started to where you are now, and then we'll jump into more current topics.
Well, I mean, just to make a long ass story short, I mean, I like a lot of people maybe that have dealt with the early days of radio. Music was like the soundtrack. Radio was like the soundtrack to my life. You know, I remember going to school listening to the radio, coming back home listening to the radio, working on homework listening to the radio. So naturally, that was one of the things that I was like, oh damn, I think this is something that I would be interested in. And I did an internship at Cal State Long Beach, started my college radio show, which was Homegrown Radio. And you know, after doing the internship at 100.3 The Beat radio station out here in Los Angeles, I moved my way up from promotions to being on air and worked at a couple of radio stations here in Los Angeles. And you know, through that whole process, starting Homegrown Radio and really tapping into the artists that are out here in Los Angeles specifically, but just more or less an artist on the come up. You know, my experience through radio was the reason why I started it. And it was like, okay, I can provide a platform to artists out there, just people that needed a voice that may not be able to get that reach to the mainstream terrestrial radio. So I was like the conduit through that, you know what I mean? For the people that couldn't get their songs played on the radio, they knew that they can come to Homegrown or use my platform to be heard. So being now that I'm at iHeart is a dope process because of Homegrown being on the iHeart brand and being at Real 92.3 is just like full circle.
Right. So obviously you're really good at what you do, or iHeart wouldn't have hired you guys, or you DJ HED.
Right.
So for the people that want to have a career in radio, or maybe just in interviewing, obviously find myself doing a lot of interviews, and I think I've just gotten better just by having reps and just interviewing more people. But is there something that people can do to just get better at talking? Like, I don't think people really understand the skill that you have, like to not use non-words.
Do it. Just do it. And because the thing is, the days of worried about how you sound and being professional, those days are over. Once the internet came about, it's a wrap. You can start a podcast today from your phone. Like we were talking about this, the way the camera looks and all that before. That shit don't matter. As long as you got something to say, and more importantly, like you said, the reps are the most important thing. If you have something to say and you got a voice or you have an opinion about something, you can be a radio personality. You can be a voice. You can utilize that as long as you get those reps in. A lot of times people want to wait until they have the professional SM42 mic, or, you know, they want to make sure that they have the studio headphones and the man, look, I'm gonna show you something. I'm in my fucking kid's room right now. This is my baby's room. You know what I mean? And sometimes I record my podcast in here. You can hear my son in the other room. You know what I mean? But that's what it's about. People want to have that authenticity nowadays, whereas before, I think the illusion of professionalism was the thing that held a lot of people back. But now with the internet, you can just boom through the door and become a radio personality. So if anybody out there wants to become a radio personality, my biggest thing was say, start a podcast or jump on, use any of these social media platforms and just get your opinion out there, whether it be music, whether it be fashion, whether it be film. What's your perspective on the topic at hand, and start, you know, getting it out there. Then once you go down the line, you can talk about distributing it, which platforms to do it on, but just start. Like that's my biggest piece of advice that I can give anybody out there that wants to break into the industry of radio specifically.
So when you hear yourself live, do you ever want to hear your stuff back to see how you can improve?
I hate it. But it's important to do that. I know the importance of it, and I find myself doing it every now and then. But to be honest, bro, out of the 15 plus years I've been doing radio, I've probably listened to, like, in a whole show, I'll probably listen to maybe 5 times where I listen to a whole show back. In most cases, like, I'll listen to, like, if I'm on, like, terrestrial radio is a little different because you hear breaks, and breaks, if people don't know, those are the ins and outs, like 45 seconds, maybe 15, 20 seconds. So I'll listen to those and say, oh, okay, you know what, I could have teased that song better. Oh, I could have made, man, don't say, just get to the point, you know, with certain things. Or if I'm talking to an artist, and I'm chopping up a break, I'll know how to pretty much position the question and make it a little bit better so that the audience can receive it, versus listening to a whole damn interview or listening to a whole 2 or 3 hour show. And I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that, man. But I know the importance of it. Like, people, just to be clear out there, that's how you get better. You refine your mistakes, and that's how you do it. I just personally don't like doing it, to be perfectly honest.
I feel like back in the day, like, you used to have a particular voice too. Like, I know my voice is kind of annoying, so I know I don't have like a radio voice.
I'm gonna tell you this though, to be honest, before the deep voice was the radio voice,
right?
It was the announcement, like Theo, yeah, exactly. A lot of people don't even know that, but yeah, that was the criteria. You just had to have a deep voice, and now those you don't have to have that nowadays. You know, as long as you have a personality or a perspective. Like, take it to my boy DJ HED, right? DJ HED doesn't have a radio voice, but he has an opinion. He has a personality that stands out, and you know, people gravitate towards that. So for anybody that's out there, don't think that you have to have this radio announcery sound, because those days are over, man.
Yeah, I think this is important for artists to hear. Like you said, that even if they just want to start a podcast, obviously podcasting is becoming super popular. You know, Joe Budden probably being the artist that has made the biggest transition over to having a deal with Spotify. But I think it's crucial. You know, it's just another platform, another opportunity to engage with fans, to build your fans, to get people to. I bet a lot of people. I mean, Joe Budden's so big now. There's a lot of fans that have become fans of his podcast that never even knew he rapped.
Right.
At this point. So he's
like a new Ice Cube in a different world. Like, a lot of people don't know that Ice Cube was a rapper. He was, you know, they see him acting or whatever the case may be. So yeah, Joe Budden, he's like the new version of that.
Yeah. So and the podcasting opened up doors for him to tour, and just really is well, not now, obviously, but you know, now that after COVID is over, they'll get back to touring the podcast, I'm sure. Hopefully it's over sometime, you know, this year. It's been
I don't think, bro, that's a whole different conversation.
Right.
I would say anybody that's out there, prep for it not to be over within the next year. Just in your mind, be ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take this show that way, but the fact that we don't have a plan still, you know, this year is probably not looking good. But anyway, pivot. Obviously, you've done, you know, you've worked with a lot of artists, you've interacted with a lot of artists. You know, you've seen a lot of artists from their very beginnings to success, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of artists from their very beginnings probably still where they're at now. what in your mind was the differentiating factor between those? And I'm talking about cats that you thought like had a lot of, because there's a lot of talent, especially here in LA, you know, but all talent doesn't reach Kendrick Lamar status. What are some of the things that were missing in other cats that may have been, you know, super talented?
I would say never make an excuse. Your success isn't determined by other people's judgments on you, if that makes a lot of sense. I hear a lot of people make excuses why their music doesn't pop or why people don't gravitate towards it. Okay, well, are you going to pivot and try something different? Or I mean, are you going to continue to make excuses? And a lot of times it's really mentally, a lot of people just get in their own way. And this goes from artists to just anybody that's trying to just break into doing anything in any field. To get past that, nobody owes you shit. So figure out, yes, this is not a fair game. This is not a fair industry. This is not a fair world, to be perfectly honest. So how are you going to get past that now? Now what, right? And I feel like the what made Kendrick different, or made, you know, artists that are successful to this day that have a long career, is that they were going to get it by any means. Okay, well, you're not going to let me in this way. I'm going to get in this way. Okay, well, this person doesn't like it. Well, I'm going to find my own fan base. Well, radio's not going to play me. All right, we're going to do it this way and kind of build so radio has to play me down the line. And that's one of the biggest things, that, especially with Kendrick. Like, I remember when radio wasn't playing them, they didn't give a damn. And people literally flocked to my living room doing homegrown radio to hear songs like that, because they knew they couldn't hear it on the radio. And fast forward, after they developed their own sound, developed their own fan base, radio had to get on board. Obviously, with him signing to Dr. Dre and, you know, having the machine behind him and all of that, it all started with him saying, you know what, the whole camp, let me phrase it, not just Kendrick, but the whole team involved, like saying, you know what, we're going to go and get it by any means, you know? And so that's the biggest thing. Just never let that thing stop you from getting where you want to get. Never make an excuse, because that's going to be the thing that holds you back.
Right. Now, there's definitely a lot of excuse making. I think cats try to find excuses sometimes to justify it to themselves or to their ego. It's like, okay, well, that's why I'm not there, because I don't have this. You know, I don't have.
I mean, that's easy. It's easy for them to give up that way, to say, oh, well, yeah, man, radio didn't play me, so hey, you know, that's why my career isn't taking off. Well, there's a lot of artists that tour and make money. And I mean, have you even looked at different avenues as far as getting your music heard or being successful? Or, you know, one thing I always tell people is, like, what's your definition of success? Do you want to be that artist that's on the radio 24/7? Well, okay, there's some things you might have to do in order to get that, you know? And a lot of people aren't willing to go down that course or go down that road, or just put in the effort to make that happen.
Right. And so you've been at iHeart how long now? I know time is
5 years. Crazy, right?
5 years?
5 years. That time went by quick, bro. 2015, May of 2015.
Wow, I thought you were gonna say like 2 or 3. Time is flying. So just even in that window, how have you seen things change at radio, if anything?
They've definitely seen the value in podcasting. As of right now, with all COVID, like not gonna say the funny thing about it, but the interesting thing about seeing everything going on right now is how many people are broadcasting from home. Right? We were doing that 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? We were live streaming, doing these things. We were on Ustream. We were on what was the other one that I forgot the name of it? Live stream. There was a countless accounts and things that you can use to broadcast live that we were using back then, that now you have the Zooms, you have the StreamYards, you have all these other platforms, you have the Twitches now that can help you do exactly what we were doing. So I think they've embraced it, and that's a great thing, because now it opens up more conversations. It opens up now, like, for example, when me and Head go on live on Real 92.3, sometimes we reference a lot of stuff that we do from the podcast and play certain clips from it. So now, you know, it could be an artist that we mention or a topic that we discuss that may not have been a topic before, something that we can kind of touch on, but now we can use the podcast as a catalyst from it. And it's all supported through iHeart.
Okay. So you can listen to so where do you listen to iHeart supported podcasts? Are they everywhere too? Or
exactly, they're everywhere as well, but it's on the iHeart Radio app. So you go to the iHeart Radio app, and you can download any podcast as well on those platforms. But it's just that they have specific ones dedicated towards iHeart, and then they obviously accept the other ones as well, part of those brands.
Got it. Got it. So in your experience working with artists, what do you enjoy the most about working with artists and getting the opportunity to engage with them, support them? What do you like the most about it?
An artist that has a story, an artist that has something to say, an artist that um, is likable, just enjoyable. Like those are the things that I really enjoy about it, because who wants to be around somebody you don't really give a shit about? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like it's better when somebody the pleasure to work with. So whether somebody comes to the station and we do an interview and really getting engaged in the conversation and the story behind their life, like, damn, so this is why you do this. Or, oh man, okay, now I get I get the reasoning behind it. We had a conversation with Bino Rideau. He's a cat from out here that worked with Nipsey Hussle, and this is before, you know, he's getting a lot of buzz now throughout Los Angeles, and before he got signed to Def Jam. But before then, he really was talking about like, damn man, we asked him like, what was it that Nip saw in you? He was like, to be perfectly honest, I don't know, man. But and just to see the vulnerability in him at that point is something refreshing about that, because in hip hop specifically, we have this bravado. It's, oh yeah, man, I'm the shit. I got this, I got that. But to tap into that side of somebody, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it now, because it's like, damn, we're all the same. We all trying to come up. You know, not everybody has the confidence and the swag like that. You know, there, and if you do, there's times where you didn't have that. So I want to know about that. And how did you overcome that? So the next person that's watching this interview can say, okay, it's not all bullshit. Like I can figure out how to do it too. So I try to find an example and find a way we can have those conversations where people can get inspired by it. So being inspired is like one of the biggest things too, man. Getting those stories, and if you get the right artist and somebody that knows their story, or sometimes you have those moments where they don't know how to lead the conversation, but they realize it in that moment. Like those are all things that I love seeing, you know, when I talk to artists or just deal with them on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think there's this perception that radio is expensive to work and you have to have the right relationships, but it's not just a money thing. I know that when we had our deal with Warner, we started doing these. We didn't really make radio music at the time, but we were starting to like build the relationships, and I'm trying to get the guys get them to understand the importance of like just being likable, right? So when we did, or if we ever did make some music that could go on the radio, it wasn't just somebody asked them to play it. It was like, no, these guys knew who we were. They knew we were genuine. They knew your story. And I just felt like that was so important, so that if we got that opportunity, it would stick. Would you agree with that? Or would you have I probably.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. It's exactly what you just said. Like, to be honest, like there's people that try to, here's one piece of advice I can give for the artists out there. Never try for that interview. I mean, never try for that interview. Never try to get that song played. Build a relationship with somebody. Make me want to have a conversation with you down the line. Make me see what you're doing to say, hey man, let me tap in and hit you up or whatever. I do this segment called Dadvice, right? Where I talk to all the fathers in the industry, just people that I run into. And to me, that's a good way of like introducing or at least networking with somebody. So if I see an artist out there, like let's say RJ, for example, another artist out here from Los Angeles, if I see him on the gram doing his thing as a father, that's going to make me want to reach out to him and talk to him about that. Now, if he or anybody just wants to just do the music and the music and the music, it's like, I understand why, but you have to figure out like the common ground. If you see I'm a radio personality and you see that I'm a father, you see I'm doing the dad vices, maybe hit me up and say, hey man, look, Chuck, I got some dad vices for you, blah, 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 blah. And for me, I'm like, oh, that's dope. Maybe repost it, maybe share it. And that's building that relationship with us. And that has nothing to do with the music. Down the line, let's say there's a music meeting we have at the station and his song comes up, I'm going to be more inclined to give it a listen, because like, oh, that's that dude. Yeah. And it's not to say it's going to be a guarantee that I'm going to fuck with the song or not, but at least it's getting that familiarity with somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand that, like, as a radio personality, I may not be able to play your song, but if I use my platform to put it out there, or whether it's the song that I like or just something like a Dadvice, you don't know who's looking at my shit. Somebody might tap in. Like my boss is always on our Instagrams and checking out what we're listening to, or what, you know, who we're favoring or whatever the case may be. And in some cases, he's like, hey, yo, send me this song. Send me this person's information. Send me this person's music. Who's their manager? And you'd be surprised how a lot of stuff happens behind the scenes that a lot of people don't even know. And a lot of people look at it like, oh, but they didn't play my song, so they don't. No, it's a lot of other shit that happens behind the scenes that people don't even know about. And it all starts with that relationship and building with somebody.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are super well connected. You never know who's lit. I mean, Chuck might not have the biggest Instagram following, but I guarantee you the people that are following him have some clout. You know, the people you just never know, right, like who's following. So you just have to move with integrity at all times. I mean, that's how you protect yourself against any ridiculous. Like, move with integrity. Because I told the cat the same thing, even at the labels. Like if you get a deal with a label, you know, as many opportunities as you can, go into that building and try to get everybody to like you, right? Because even the most junior person on the team is probably working with 20 different artists. So when your project comes across that person's desk, they put their time and attention into it because they genuinely rock with you.
Treat the janitor the same way you treat the CEO.
Indeed.
You walk in the building, you see the receptionist, say what's up, man. Just like you said, be likable and just treat everybody with respect, because I've seen how these buildings can flip. You know how it goes when you can be, you know, I'm not gonna say nobody, but somebody that's on a lower tier, and that person can be the program director in the next couple of years. You know what I'm saying? Or somebody of influence, maybe, and specifically with radio, they can go from being an overnight jock to being a morning show host. Or I mean, it's so many levels to this that you just have to be prepared for it. And like you said, just be a likable person.
Right. So, and I think I might have asked you this last time, but have you ever thought about managing artists?
Nah, man, I don't think I have the patience for it. And I'm gonna be perfectly honest. Like, I spend so much of my time really focusing on radio that I would do the artist a disservice to even play around in that field. I'm more of like I'll connect with the right people. I can do that, but I wouldn't want to take on an artist full time like that. Yeah. Just to be perfectly, I don't think I have it in me. As of today, as of right now, I don't see it. But you know, who knows what can happen? You know, down the line.
I'm sure you've been asked though.
Oh yeah, multiple times, and people are convinced that I'm a great manager, and I ain't even done no shit. I'm like,
well, let me tell you this: just the fact that you are professional in your communication, you're light years ahead of a lot of people that I've interacted with.
I'll take that. I'll take that as a compliment then. But not right now. I wouldn't take on a project like that.
Nah, I feel you. Yeah, what was I about to say? Now, so in terms of your own journey, obviously, you know, you're doing your thing right now, iHeart. What is next, and what is after next, and what's after next for Chuck Dizzle?
Man, I just want to continue to build my brand, man. A lot of people don't understand the importance of that. I've had the experience of being with 3 different radio stations, 3 different companies, while building my own within the last 10, 15 years. So I know how fast this can come. I know how great it can be. Right now I'm on like over 40 stations, which is an amazing thing, from Los Angeles to WGCI in New York. I'm not New York, Chicago to Atlanta, Philly, and all this. But I know it can be taken away in a day. So my thing is, let me utilize the platform while I have to build my rep and build, you know, my brand, so that if it goes away, that I'm still okay as Chuck Dizzle. And to be honest, when we're talking about this now, is just figuring out what different lanes and different things that I can do outside of radio, because, you know, I feel like radio now is shifting to something that I didn't fall in love with. So, and it is not to say that I won't be doing radio anymore or anything like that, but it's just, I know that the podcast journey and the personable approach is the shit that I love about it. You know what I mean? I love being able to talk to an artist for 2 hours, where, you know, obviously radio is not designed to have those 2-hour conversations be broadcasted like that. Right. So just using my creativity, bro, and figuring out what different lanes that I can attack. You know, obviously being a father is the utmost importance to me right now. So making sure that I'm doing that, and just being secure financially, being secure emotionally, just everything, man. Just kind of taking that lane and moving forward with the platform that I have been building.
So when radio folks say that they're live or that they're in multiple cities, what exactly does that mean? Does that mean the show airs at the same time? So at this point, like it's aired right now, it's live in all those cities at the same time, or you record them to go live at particular times in different cities?
It depends on what kind of situation you got set up. My situation is I pre-record a lot of my stuff and it gets sent out at different times. So like today, I'm gonna go in and record a show today for maybe like Wednesday or Thursday, and I get stuff ahead. And then there's other times where I might do it for the night. Like, and if things happen or get updated, I'll go in and fix my breaks and things of that nature. So in most cases, it's pre-recorded. It's put out there so it can get distributed to the masses. Something like a Breakfast Club, they're live in New York, and it does get distributed in different cities, but then there's a lot of that that's recorded as well that gets distributed to different cities as well. So for me, my specific situation is different because you know, I record from the house, and sometimes I go to the station. Just obviously with the whole pandemic going on right now, it allows me the freedom to kind of move around, which is a great thing for me.
So is it just numbers that will determine like if you get more cities or longer slides? Like how do you progress and get more coverage, get a Breakfast Club situation?
Well, exactly, it's the numbers. If the numbers are doing good in different markets that you're in, and the buzz is out there, then you'll be hit up by either a program director or within the company. They'll say, okay, well, damn, you're doing good in this time slot. Let's move you to this time slot. From that time slot, let's get you a different situation where you're now, instead of 10 cities, you're in 15 cities or 20 cities. It just really depends on the situation at hand. A lot of people kind of like go back and forth with COVID. For me, it was the biggest blessing because it allowed me the opportunity to be in more cities where I wasn't before. You know what I mean? They looked at me and they saw what I was doing over the course of a year, 2 years. And I was always that filling guy for Real 92.3. I would always just, hey, you need me here, give me this time, I'm here, whatever. And they saw that hustle and that grind. They were like, okay, well, let's take that to a national level. Let's have you fill in for people, multiple personalities throughout the country. And we're going to give you your own overnight time slot that's going to be broadcasted in these many cities. So at any given time, I can be on probably 50, 55 cities within a day. So again, it's a blessing for me. Not a lot of people have that same situation. And that's just what I'm learning throughout this whole process, bro, is like, there's nothing that is, how can I say, like, everything is subject to change. Put it like that. Everything's subject to change. You got to just be ready to roll with the punches, to be perfectly honest.
So what is the advice you give artists? Because obviously artists are still would like their songs played on the radio. When somebody says, hey, how can I get my song on the radio? What advice do you typically give them?
They're going to hate it when I say it, but just be undeniable. Like, I know that's cliche to say, but that's the best shit that I can tell anybody because that's what I've seen. I would not chase radio. Telling artists now, don't chase radio. I would create a song or something that's of you that you can go out there and make and just be about and not have to worry about that side of it. If it happens, great for you. You did it on your own way, your own terms, and people fuck with it. But don't choose and don't try to chase radio. But you definitely need a good team around you. You need people that are going to give you solid advice and be able to tell you how to move. But for sure, don't chase radio. Just be undeniable, man. Trust me, those songs that people are making, those hits, like they'll get to cats like myself or other DJs. Or if you feel like you have a song that just hasn't gotten out there, do your due diligence, just like we were talking about. Network with different people. It could be one. I know for a lot of the stations that I'm on, they have some kind of homegrown feel where they do local music or tap into local artists, or if not, that DJ that's on the station, they mix somewhere else, or they have means in their own platforms. Your whole thing is just to get heard by as many people as you possibly can. So instead of chasing the play, work on getting the networking in and having people like you, because that person could be in a situation where they could obviously play your music. Like there's times we have like a new joint of the day and we're able to get it on, and let's just say it's a song that I really fuck with. I can put it in, we can put it in play at that point in time. That doesn't happen all the time, but you just want to be ready that you want to make sure that when the opportunity is there, that your name is being casted or your song that you got is being up for grabs.
Right. So I was on. We do our podcast once a week. We just drop. So we record it every Thursday, drop it every Monday. One of the clips that I cut from it, we were talking about how I feel like most artists' music is just average. Like, and that's a bad place to be, because it's like it doesn't invoke an emotion one way or the other. I feel like it's better to be trash and confident. I mean, obviously, it's better to be dope and confident. You know, that'd be ideal. But there's this huge bucket in the middle. You know, I'm sure people send you their music all the time. Would you agree that like most of it is just average, or do you feel like you get a better mix?
It depends on what we're looking at, right? The stuff that gets sent to me, a lot of the times, yes, because it's a lot of people that are just trying to get on, just trying to press the issue, which I don't have a problem with. Let me be just clear about that. I love when artists send me music, and I can sift through what I like and do what I don't like. But you know, with these playlists and things that they have now, if there's an artist that you like, you play it. Typically, they have these things now where it goes to the next song, and it's of somebody that's kind of similar of the thing that you like. So you can easily find some dope shit. I remember I was on SoundCloud one day, and I was listening to this dude named Bell out of here from South Central, and I was listening to his whole project, and then it went on to somebody else, and I'm still thinking it's him.
Right.
And I'm like, wait, oh, this is somebody else. Damn, okay, this is cool. Boom, put it in the bank. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a lot of potential for a lot of trash music to be sent and be out there, but I think that the opportunity to discover great music is just it's just, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but yeah, you can find that as well.
No, I think the algorithms are solid. Like I mean, that happens a lot, but it's almost like you kind of want that to happen. Like you want to keep listening to good music, but if you keep thinking that the artist that's currently playing is the same artist that you put on, like
That's bad. That's bad. That's bad because that person isn't standing out for sure. You're right. But it all depends on what you're going for. Like I just go off the vibe. I'm like, if I'm in the mode, like in that particular moment, I was just in the mode to hear good music. So I'm like sitting there listening to it. I'm like, okay, this ain't making me turn, which is a good thing. There are other moments where I'm like, okay, who's out there that just stands out, that has a good message in the story? That's for me, that's a little different. The average person isn't thinking that way. They just want to hear good music. And I guess that's the radio side of me. Like, we're trained not to have you turn the dial. So I didn't turn the dial when I was listening to it. So for me, I equate that to good music, you know?
Right. Yeah, no, it's different. But you would say that so algorithmically, you find some pretty good music, but more often than not, the people that say, hey, listen to my music kind of fits in the same bucket.
What's funny is that the people that are most confident in their shit like that, you're right. It's just like, you got some work. Like the people that hit me and say, fire emoji, man, this is the next blah, blah, blah. Typically, it goes over my head. I'm like, all right, this ain't it.
Yeah, there. I could probably count on one hand the number of times I've been given music directly from the artist, and I was impressed by it. I'm typically impressed by music that I just see fans supporting, or like somebody that I trust to put me on to. You know, the people that co-sign it typically doesn't come directly from the artists themselves.
Yeah.
So, but staying with the artist, can you talk about, or has there been like any time where an artist has creatively got to you or effectively got to you? Is there any time that stands out that was like, yeah, this was creative and that's why I still rock with this person to this day, or this was terrible and that's why I would never pick up the phone for this person ever again? I think we need both sides of the coin.
All right, so one, and I don't know if it's gonna prove my point or not, but it was just creative as fuck the way he did it. I'm not gonna even lie, I can't tell you his name though, so I don't know if it worked or not. We do the show called Payday LA. Shout out to my boy El Prez, and you know, it's a showcase before COVID we were hosting every month. And this one dude just came up to me and he slid me a 20. I'm like, bro, I don't do that. Like, I'm not, anybody that knows me, I don't take money for records. That's not my get down. I don't even play around like that, right? And he's like, no, like, take it. So I looked, and it was it was one of his digital cards that looked like a 20, but it had all of his information on there. And I was like, bro, that is amazing. The fact that I'm gonna check it out. I checked it out. I wasn't necessarily feeling it, but I just love his approach. But the fact that you got to me, you know what I'm saying? So now if for whatever reason, I can't tell you the dude's name, so that's probably tells you enough in itself. But I'm gonna remember if he ever comes back up to me and say, hey, look, remember that time I slid you that or whatever, then I'll remember it and probably give him the benefit of the doubt next go round, just because of how creative it was. And you said, what was the other way? Like, was something where?
So a time where it was just somebody was out of pocket and you would never, return the email or return a text from this person because they did, basically.
Yeah, man, I get people that really get salty. Like the messed up part about doing what we do as far as homegrown is that people feel entitled that just because you're on the come up that we have to play your music, and it doesn't go that way. It's like we provide a platform. So yes, if we rock with it, we're gonna put it on there. In some cases, even if we just respect the hustle, we'll put it up there and show some love, right? But there are other people that feel like, oh, just because I'm on the come up, you guys have to play my music or you have to post my music. So I've gotten threats before. I've gotten people just like trying to blast us on social media, talking about we're not about the culture and this, and I'm just like, that couldn't be farthest from the truth. But I'm not gonna even let you, run. I had somebody recently just say fuck our whole brand, and we've been rocking with this person for the longest. And I'm like, all right, well, see how that goes. But yeah, so the more aggressive things, the more aggressive approach is the things that I just kind of like look at, and I'm not cut from that cloth. Not cut from that cloth in terms of the street shit. So I take it with a grain of salt and just keep it pushing. But I definitely look at it like, yeah, even if I do like your music now, your integrity is fucked up with me. So I don't even know if I want to even try to support what you have going on.
Right. Yeah, I don't like listening to people's music because I don't even really listen to that much music anymore, to be honest with you. Like I more so listen to podcasts and like, if I like your music, I don't run a label anymore. I'm not trying to manage music artists, so it's not that much I can do for you anyway. But I think most music I hear is average, so that's probably gonna be my feedback, and you're probably not gonna like that. And I just don't want to be in that position.
Like, yeah, no, I mean, and especially if that's not your lane. Like you're not. I think I seen something that you were doing, like you were reviewing music, and you was like, bro, I'm probably not the person to ask about this because I don't review music. And you were egged on to do it. You're like, it's whatever, bro. Like it really is whatever. And
right.
Yeah, so yeah, I understand that. Like it's a lot of stuff out there that makes you go do that.
So for what you're doing, like, who is it important for you to connect with? Like, is it important for you to connect with like the Chuck Dizzles in other cities? Is that valuable or helpful for you? Or like,
that's a strategy for sure. I mean, I would definitely look at the people that have the names, like the DJs. I would look at, again, depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to get radio spins, look at the different radio personalities that are, again, pre-COVID, that were out in the streets playing music. You know what I mean? Hitting the clubs, doing events. Pull up on them. You know what I'm saying? Find different ways to make sure that they can see who you are, so you can present your music to them. Don't just come up with them with a flash drive and just expect them to play your shit, but you want to make sure that they know who you are. So that's one side to it. But then you have people like myself. I'm a radio DJ, but I'm a radio personality. I'm not a DJ. You know what I mean? I do DJ, but that's not my thing. I'm a radio personality, which means I don't necessarily play the music. There's a program log, program music that's in there that we play and we push out and we talk about. I'm not behind the turntables doing that. So you might want to reach out to me more or less for interviews and kind of getting the story behind your music. But if you want to shoot me a song and, chop it up, then that's cool too. So that might be a different lane. If you see people in different markets that are on the come up or not necessarily DJs that you want to build with, but they work at the radio station, that's another way. There's producers and interns and people that are in college, like college radio DJs that you can literally build with and build a relationship with, and you never know who they're going to be down the line. So it just depends on whatever your strategy is. My thing is, again, back to the early part of our conversation, just make sure you're likable, make sure it's presentable, and that when you are networking, it's like, it's not, don't get me, it's like, you got to think of it like dudes on like trying to holler at girls. You don't go up to them and be like, hey, can I fuck? Like, bro. Like it's like you can try that, but in most cases, you know, you're gonna shoot your shot. It may or may not work. And you already there'll already be a perception about you once that comes across. So I would just say just organically build with somebody, and that could be for the top person at the station, or somebody that's on the come up, or somebody in the middle like myself that's you know in that gray area.
Yeah, I think the thing to also recognize is like these relationships take time to build, and I think that a lot of young people forget that because everything is so quick these days, right? You put up your video, you get instant feedback, instant likes, comments, stuff like that. But some of these relationships, man, it takes years, and it's just it's give and take, or it might be give for years, and then might be an opportunity to get something back. So I think that patience is crucial, because I think a lot of people get frustrated or expect something to happen so soon that they stop watering that relationship.
Right.
So it's unfortunate. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take some questions. I know we did this last time; it didn't go as smooth as I'd hoped. But you guys, so before when we did the MEC, we would bring people on camera on this platform. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to do that. So we are going to take questions in the comments. So if you just type your question in the comment, I will highlight it and put it on the screen. Not all of them, depending on how many we get. So go ahead and type your questions in the comment if you guys have any. Somebody already asked, how can I connect with major artists? I'm assuming this is a producer. This is a producer. So how do you think a producer can connect with major artists from how you've seen major artists move and work with producers?
Figure out what a major artists are. And I mean, I think people they use social media in the wrong way, where a lot of times people are spamming in the comments. But let's just say you're a producer, right? And you're trying to get a major artist look. I mean, look at some of the challenges that are going out there that have these artists attached to it. There might be something that's I've seen a dude just get a deal by seeing something on social media and reenacting. I forgot the name of the young dude. I feel so bad, but it was a social commentary piece. It was a cappella, but the homie them joints redid it and made a beat over it. And the kid just got signed, got recognized by Dr. Dre. And it's like, so he utilized the platform of social media just to put his art out there. So sometimes just get creative in how you present yourself to that artist or songs that are about it. Like there might be a song that you remix of your favorite artist, or a song that's out there right now that's recognizable that might get the attention of that person that you're looking to try to connect with.
Somebody said, I think it was Keedron Bryant. That's who you're talking about?
Yep.
The I Just Want to Live cat?
Yep. I Just Want to Live, yeah. Yep.
So this is kind of a tangent, but I was going to make a video about him because I don't know whether it's a good or a bad thing that Warner signed. You never know, like once an artist gets signed, if it's a good or a bad, unless you see their paperwork. Because I feel like, major labels are just taking hella bets right now. They're just placing hella bets, right? Because they don't know exactly which one's gonna blow, and you don't know if you're gonna get the time and attention that you need because they're signing so many acts. So it could be a great thing and it seems like he's gotten a lot more exposure. I've seen a video with him like in the same room with Dre.
Yeah, exactly. At Dre's house.
Yep. So hopefully it works out well for him. I'm rooting for him.
But yeah, see, I would say just see what's going on right now. See what the conversation, see what the post is on social media. If you're using that platform, figure a way how you can use it to your benefit versus just saying, I mean, you can send messages to people, but it's just like emails. I mean, the open return rate is not going to be as great versus doing something that gets a lot of attention and everybody's tagging that artist versus you spamming that artist, if that makes any sense at all.
Right.
I mean, and I was, again, pre-COVID, figure out where these artists are at. What events are they doing? Show up. A lot of times it's literally 90% about that, just being in front of somebody. You know what I'm saying? And that can really change just to how you're being looked at.
For sure. Let me find. Do you think for producers and artists, sharing your story / process besides just music via social media helps more people relate to you?
Absolutely. Like my thing is, I was just telling the producer this the other day. It's like you overthink the process. We all overthink the process, right? I would love to know how you connect certain things, like in terms of how do you find your sounds? What inspires you that day? Like those kind of stories, I think that's dope. So if you create, let's say, a blog series, a vlog series behind that, or something on IG, or a cook-up session on Twitch, you know, I just would love to. I'm the type of person I like seeing the process behind it. And if I know I'm the type of person who likes to do it, I know a lot of other people relate to it as well. A lot of times I've noticed, even from being in radio, like I've had a lot of engagement on people that jump on my lives versus me being on air. Like sometimes people want to see, people are just infatuated with the whole process of just looking at the board or just looking at the mic that I'm talking into, or me talking into a song or shouting them out. Like they like to see the behind the scenes process. So open up and give people that behind the scenes process, whether the project is going to be complete or not. A lot of people just want to see how you do it. You know what I mean? And social media definitely helps with that. And because there's a lot of people that's out there like you doing the same thing in their respective field, whether it's music or not. And, you know, people can relate to that. So show more behind the scenes, man. Get under the hood. Let people see it.
Yeah. And I would say your story is probably just as important as the music. You know, you got to have a compelling story and a compelling brand these days. I find myself becoming fans of artists more through their interviews these days than their music. I mean, there's a lot of music out there. I feel like I can always find something, you know, that I want to listen to if I want to. But like, you know, when somebody has a really strong interview and it's something I can connect with, I connect with their story, I think it definitely makes me follow them, makes me want to watch the next interview because they're just interesting, cool people. So it's crucial, definitely crucial.
Let me give you an example. I'm sorry. So we did an interview. Rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. We did an interview with him right when Victory Lap was about to come out. And one of the things that caught traction was I asked him if he was, you know, we were talking about like what he would be doing if he wasn't a rapper. And he was like, "Man, look, I'm into space, man. Like I'm into like the galaxies, and I'm into I think it's called the CERN facility or whatever it's called." So we were having a dialogue about that. But that caught a lot of traction. It was like, oh shit, people didn't know that Nipsey Hussle was into astronomy. And then I asked him, I'm like, so what do you think about the whole flat earth? And he was like, that's bullshit. And we just had a riff on that conversation. But a lot of people related to that because it was just like, people saw him just as a regular person. It had nothing to do with the music. And it was just all about your beliefs and your thoughts and conspiracies and all that. So make something that's relatable to the people that people can actually see. You couldn't get that if it didn't happen in an interview, if it didn't happen with, you know, maybe you're on talking about cooking up a beat or whatever, and you talking about just things that you are into. Like, what are you going through on a daily that has nothing to do with the music that can help correlate with the music? If that makes sense.
For sure. Definitely makes sense. All right, let's see. TikTok 03. Since there are networks for publishing podcasts, do you see iHeart or other traditional radio companies doing the same and broadcasting on air? Like the podcast, I'm assuming, like, do you anticipate radio like broadcasting podcasts on air? Is that?
Well, I mean, they do. There's certain markets that do. Like I know they have the Breakfast Club podcast that on a lot of stations broadcast like Sunday nights or something like that. So I mean, they're already starting to do that. I think more or less for their major brands first to kind of test it out and see how it works. But I think they're already making those steps as of right now to do that.
Dope. Yeah, I mean, I think podcasting, I definitely didn't anticipate it being as huge as it is, and seeing all these millions and millions of dollars being dumped into it, you know, investing in like Spotify's and the iHearts of the world. Like who all is listening to these podcasts?
Enough people. Look, enough people. If they wouldn't have dumped the money in like that, trust me, a lot of people are tapping into them. Just like you said, you don't listen to music anymore. What do? You listen to podcasts, and it's easy. But it's easy to consume as well, like on your drives and it's, you know, just the way that people consume it nowadays. You can have it streaming while, you know, I mean, I guess you can do the same thing for music, but you know, a lot of people are just tapping into that because of the conversations. Like, I think that's one of the biggest reasons why in radio specifically, a lot of talk stations do very, very well because of that. Because it's not necessarily the same songs that you hear somebody's perspective, and it's why sports radio does so well as well. So it's like, those are the type of things I think it translates over to the podcast because people are just thirsty for that information.
So we'll go ahead and wrap it up, man. I got one last question. Obviously, you're doing the radio stuff, the podcasting stuff. You host. Are there other things that you want to get into in the near future?
Nah, to be honest, I just want to stay in my lane, to be perfectly honest with the whole media field. I do want to continue. I think I got to put more work. We got to put more work in to the homegrown radio brand. As far as building that network back up, I think it took a backseat when we jumped on the iHeart brand, just because we had to put our full focus and attention on that. I'm really just being self-sufficient, man. Like, that's my biggest thing, in ownership and things of that nature. Like, so anything that I do, it's gonna have more focus into that for sure.
Dope. Well, yeah, man, I think the homegrown brand is super dope. You know, if you ever need any help or anything I could do to help push that forward, I know you got some good people over there working under you as well.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you, man. I appreciate it once again coming through to the MEC. I know people got a lot out of this one. I could tell in the comments. Is there any last words you want to share with us before we get up out of here?
Man, just thank y'all. Thank you, Dame. I appreciate the platform. Stay in contact at Chuck Dizzle across all the platforms. And if anybody can send me a message. I just jumped on Twitch I've had an account for a couple of weeks now, right? And I'm interested in seeing what feedback people would want, what they would want me to actually do as a radio personality, because that's one thing I'm kind of like struggling with in terms of content. What you would be interested in to see on my Twitch account, and just shoot me that, and I'll do my first video dedicated to that. So at Chuck Dizzle, you can find me across all platforms. And again, thank you, BeatStars, thank you, MEC, and thank you, Dane, for having me on, bro.
Indeed. All right, y'all. I'll be back next week. I think I have Ian Corzine, who's a social media lawyer. That's going to be a dope session. And then Payne is going to be on Thursday. I'm not sure what his topic is. I should probably equip myself with that information every week. But my bad.
Payne gonna be talking some shit on Thursday. Tune in.
He probably does the same thing to me. So it's all good. All right, y'all. Peace.